Now let's practice actually factoring a couple of these below here. So x squared plus 2x plus 1. So again, we're going to make that diamond. And the last term is going to go on the top. The middle term is going to go on the bottom. So we are trying to think of numbers that multiply to get you 1. Multiply to get you 1. But add or subtract to get you 2. So this one is hopefully pretty easy because the only thing that multiplies to get you 1 is 1 times 1. So 1 times 1 gives you 1. 1 plus 1 gets you 2. So those two numbers are what you guys take over to put in your parentheses. So remember, we always have x and x. That's what multiplies to get you the x squared. But since they're both positive, plus 1 and plus 1. So that's the factored form of x squared plus 2x plus 1. Again, the reason we're factoring this is because we will eventually use those factors to solve your equation. So let's take a look at number 2. X squared plus 4x minus 21. So what is multiplying to get us negative 21, but adding to get us 4? So let's list some numbers that multiply to get you 21. So 1, 21. And you can even just check in your calculator. So even if you just go to your calculator and start, like 1 will always be possible, but then you could check 2. So is 21 divisible by 2? No, if not evenly. So if you get a decimal, we don't want to use 2. So how about 3? 21 divisible by 3? Yes, 3 times 7. So how about 4? Nope, not a whole number. Divisible by 5? No. 6. If you are not sure, you can always use this process to come up with that list. And then we circle back to, because if we try 21 divided by 7, it gives us that combination of 7 and 3, but we already had the 3 and the 7. So if you're unsure, you can always just go to your calculator and start checking to see what that number you're trying to multiply to get is divisible by. So we also have 3 and 7. So 1 and 21, no way adding or subtracting them are we going to be able to get to 4. But if we use 3 and 7, if we're trying to add to get that bottom number, if we do positive 7 and negative 3, that gives us the 4. Negative 3 plus 7 gets you 4. Negative 3 times 7 gets you that negative 21. And then you're going to take those values, and that's what goes in the parentheses with your x. And you can always check if you did it correctly. So if you want to just double check, so like, oh, I came up with x minus 3 times x plus 7. If you guys check and try to multiply them back together, x squared 7x, negative 3x, negative 21. You get x squared 7x plus negative 3x, 4x minus 21, right out of space. So you can always check that the factors you came up with, if you multiply them back together, should give you the same thing. They're the same expression, just one is factored, one's in standard form. So how about number 3? So what is going to multiply to get us 6, but add to get us 5? So 1 and 6, 2 and 3. So 1 and 6, if we were like subtracting or something, we could get the 5. But because this 6 is positive, one of these numbers, or we can't have a negative number. They either both need to be positive or both need to be negative. So we want to use 2 and 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 2 times 3 is 6. So we're going to take those numbers and they're going to go into the parentheses, both positive. So x plus 2, x plus 3 is the factored form of that original expression that they gave us of x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, we'll just keep moving right along here. X squared plus 10x, or plus 10 minus 7x. So this one is not in standard form. So I'm just going to rewrite this so that it's x squared, x constant. So now we know what is supposed to go where. So we're trying to multiply to get the 10, the c term, and adding to get you negative 7. So what numbers multiply to get you 10? 10 and 1. And 5 and 2. So which ones are we going to use to get a 7? Hopefully you're at least processing that it can't be the 10 and 1. It's probably going to be the 5 and the 2. So 5 times 2 does give you 10, but 5 plus 2 is a positive 7. So if we want it to be a negative 7, we make them both negative. Negative times a negative is a positive 10. So in this case, they're just both negative, so both minus. So your factors will be x minus 5 and x minus 2. So you want to be making sure that your expression is in standard form so you're not trying to add or multiply the wrong numbers together. So how about number 5? X squared minus 9. This one doesn't even have a b term. Well, that is okay. It just has the c, that constant. If there's no x term, there's just an x squared and a constant. You can rewrite, like we've sort of done in the past when it's helpful, you can put a 0 in there. So if there is no x term, just make it 0. 0x. We would normally just leave it blank, but there's nothing wrong with that. And then minus 9. So we are trying to multiply to get negative 9, but adding to get 0. So whenever you have a 0, that means you guys have to use the same numbers here and here, just opposite. Because the only way you're going to add to get 0 is if you've got a 5 plus a negative 5, or a negative 6 plus a positive 6, or negative 37 plus positive 37. They have to be the same numbers, just one's positive, one's negative. So what multiplies to get you 9, or what times itself gets you 9, it's going to be 3 times 3. But because it's negative, you need a negative and a positive. 9 and 1 would not have worked because that doesn't add to get you 0. So when you have a 0 down there, it has to be the same number, just the positive one. And that's called a difference of squares. So negative 3 and positive 3. So x plus 3, x minus 3. Same number, positive and a negative. They'll essentially cancel each other out to add up to 0 there. And have no middle term. X squared minus 2x minus 8. So what multiplies to get you negative 8? Adds to get you negative 2. So what are all those numbers? And this time we're trying to get a negative 8. But what multiplies to get you 8? What factors, what numbers? So you can do 1 and 8. You also do 2 and 4. But we're trying to add to get that negative 2. So let's think about using 2 and 4. So if this bottom number is negative, we need to make the larger number negative. So when we're adding them together, if it's positive, the larger number should be positive. If it's negative, the larger number should be negative. So 2 plus negative 4 will get you negative 2. 2 times negative 4 will get you negative 8. So x minus 4 times x plus 2. So how about number 7? X squared minus 18 plus 7x. Again, it's not in order, so let's put this as x squared plus 7x minus 18. So what multiplies to get us negative 18 but adds to get us positive 7? So let's think of some numbers that multiply to get you 18. So obviously 1 and 18. You could do 2 and 9. You could do 3 and 6. So we want to get negative 18. So that's what we need to multiply by, but we're trying to add to get a positive 7. So looking at 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, what are you kind of thinking you could add together to get to 7? Hopefully it's the 2 and the 9. We just have to figure out how do we get to 7. Well, again, since it's positive, the larger number of those two needs to be the positive one. So we want the 9 to be positive, 2 to be negative. Negative 2 plus 9 gets you 7. Negative 2 times 9 gets you negative 18. So x minus 2, x plus 9. All right, and why don't you guys try, if you would like, number 8. Like I said, the more you guys try, the easier it will kind of get. But we're going to need to use this process to actually solve your equation. So it's kind of like a two-stepper till we're all done. We're just focusing on that first step of factoring it at least first.